Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this webinar that's being hosted by Kilimanjaro and Enterprise, and we thank them for the opportunity to show you ezyCollect. We're going to be talking today about a world-class accounts receivable experience, and I guess from those of you who are joining us, most of you will be in the AR space or the cash space. I come from a background of accounts receivable as well, so I know the highs and the lows and the thrills and the pain that it all involves for you all. So what we're going to do today is just go through some points that might help you and then show you the ezyCollect product, which will help you automate and make your job as an accounts receivable or as a financial controller or as a finance manager easier, because it will improve your cash flow. As I say, I've been in the ERP space a long time, and you'd be surprised the number of companies that all suffer the same issues, and it usually involves around cash flow, and it always involves people not paying on time. And if only everybody would pay you when they were supposed to, everybody's life would be easier, but they don't, and that's what we're going to try to help you solve today. So my name's Graham Bowers. As I said, I've been in accounts receivable part of my life. I've been selling ARP, and we're going to flow through the story of credit, cash in the bank. I'm a qualified accountant, don't hold that against me, but at least I know where you're coming from and what a debit and a credit is, which I'm sure when you've been dealing with a lot of ERP consultants, they sometimes struggle with that concept. My catchphrase always has been, and I live by this, a sale is not a sale until the money is in the bank. Up until that point, it is a gift. And if we can just get all the salespeople in your organization understanding that, then life would be a lot easier. My co-host is our CEO, AJ, and he also ran a big distribution business, which is where ezyCollect has come from, because he was again doing very, very well, but was cash poor because he grew his business from 3 to 10 million. But a lot of that involved credit terms, and he needed a better way to actually get cash in the door. So he sold that business and formed ezyCollect, which has now got over 50 staff and 1,200 customers across 18 countries, helping everybody. So in terms of the accounts receivable experience, there are three moments of truth that hold true irregardless of where you are in the B2B arena. And these are best practice onboarding. You have to have human interface in collections. You cannot just rely on dunning letters, emails, and hope, which a lot of people do, and an ability for people to be able to pay you whenever it suits them. That's very, very important. So onboarding, we have a credit application that we're going to show you, and onboarding is critical because you get the opportunity to stop bad debts before they even happen, and that's very relevant. And again, if I go back to my experience, and I've worked in companies where you go there and you say, how do you actually get a new client? Oh, well, we've got this form, and they fax that in, or they scan it and send it in, and it's got the name of the company, and if you're lucky, the ABN, and here's 3 credit references, and you duly call those credit references, and those credit references all say that they're wonderful people, they'll all pay you on time, we do $50,000 a month with them, so you give them credit. And for the first 2-3 invoices you get paid, and then it starts to slow down, and then all of a sudden, you're chasing them constantly. So onboarding is critical in terms of accounts receivable. The other thing you have to do is you have to have a workflow that ensures that you're talking to people in a timely manner, be it a text message, be it an email message, be it a phone call, be it a letter. And our aim is to reduce those sales and cash and cash collections. Now, we say that we actually can collect 90% of overdues in the first 3 months, and people don't believe us. So now we say 70%, and it's more believable to people, but it actually is 90%. And by making payments frictionless, we take away the stresses of people calling you, wanting to take credit cards over the phone, And there's a large percentage of people that actually pay after 5 o'clock at night and before 7 o'clock in the morning. It's about 25%. If you're not there to take the payment, you're putting a roadblock in their way. So without further ado, I'll hand over to AJ, who will run you through the product, and then we can open it to questions and answer any other outstandings that you may have. AJ, over to you.
Thanks, JB. And if you could just leave that screen up there for a second. Hello, everyone, and good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're joining from. Thank you for taking your time. I know everyone's busy, and we've had lots of webinars in the last year, so thank you all for your time. What JB talks about here is these 3 moments of truth. It's really kind of come out of, as JB mentioned, the actual experience I had running my wholesale manufacturing business. So, if you're a business that sells on credit, whether you're a services business, a wholesale business, a manufacturing, a distribution business, what we, have built the platform, the ezyCollect platform around, is really about solving the problem of late payment, the stress that it causes. You can't see here, but I've lost a lot of hair, and it's really, as a business owner, it's that constant, unknown. Will I get paid on time? Will my customer be a bad debt? And then on the flip side, how do I pay my bills? I have to pay for my goods. I have to pay my employees on time. That imbalance of cash flow is really where there's a lot of pain. And I really feel in some ways the culture of business-to-business payments is actually broken. Where if you're selling to a consumer, for example, or if you're say using Netflix, right? You are not, get given terms by like Netflix, and if you don't pay, they cut off your service. That's it. There's no concept of I'll send you an invoice, you pay me after 30 days from the end of the month. It doesn't exist. But in business to business, we have that culture. And so, how do we run our business in this culture? How do we manage our risk? How do we have the right systems and processes to reduce our exposure to bad debt? And how do we make it easy, very importantly, easy for our customers to pay us? So, to really solve this problem, and what I'm going to show you, as JB mentioned in the demo, is we're going to show you how to solve both your accounts receivables, but also your accounts payables. How do you help your customers pay you faster? Because only when you can solve both sides of the coin can you really get paid on time. And our mission really is, like I said, eliminate late payment, or what we call mission 0 days late. We really want you to never have an overdue invoice ever again, right? And so this platform is going to show you how you can get there. And we'll break them into 3 things: onboarding, collection, and payments. We'll show you 3 parts of the system. And at the end, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask it. And for everyone who stays on, at the end, we have a special offer for people if you're interested in kind of trialing the system as well. So, JB, I might take control of the screen if that's okay. If you want to stop sharing. Much, sir. Right. Okay. So, as I mentioned to you, ezyCollect. If you on my screen here, I've just logged into ezyCollect, so it is a web-based system. So let's be really, really clear about that. And being web-based, it means that it connects to A, you can use it wherever you want, right? But B, we're a connected system. It connects to your MYOB EXO and your MYOB Advanced ERP, and so it allows you to not have to worry about syncing yet another system, connecting another system. It's there, and it's always talking to MYOB automatically, right? And so having the data here is really, really important, because that's what drives your collections, your onboarding, all your activities. So if you think about ezyCollect, it's super simple to get up and running. You plug it into EXO or into Advanced, and within under a week, you can be up and running with ezyCollect. And as per JB's point, you can see a massive reduction in your overdue days within 3 months. So let's start with the beginning of the process. And this is where, in your example, GB, you mentioned so many businesses don't have a good process on onboarding new clients. I know in my business, I had exactly what JB mentioned. I had a credit application form that was paper-based. I'd fax it to my customers. When we had a new prospect, the customers would fill it up in 2 seconds, and they'd put in their name, last name, director details, some trade references, and it wasn't really data-driven. I actually wanted the sale, so I'd get our team to call a couple of the references. They'd all be fantastic, and before you know it, I was giving this customer a $10,000 line of credit. right? And if they went bad in 6 months later or 8 months later, I'd be like, oh my God, it's horrible. But if you look at the process, it was broken at the start. How do you make better decisions on who to work with, who not to work with? And then when you work with someone, how much risk do you extend to that person? How much credit do you extend to that person? And that's where we want to make it easy for you. We don't want to make your life complicated, but we want to solve it so you can sell more, you can grow your business, but you can get paid on time. So what you can see here on the left is credit applications. So I'm going to open that and show you how simply, like you can do this yourself after the webinar if you want, and you can have your own application form that's data-driven that you can start using in the same day, like today. So what you have here in your application settings is you can configure a brand and some T's and C's and privacy policy and some introduction text for your credit application form. Right, so you can do that there. I've pre-filled it with, I don't know why I chose Chess Wholesale, but that's, for business. And I click Save. When I hit Save, that's it. I've got the basics and the starting point of my credit application form. Right. The next step now here is to say, okay, share that link. It dynamically generates a link with, it'll be HTTPS your company name at credit app. I can copy that link. I can hop that and put it onto my website as a permanent link, and I can use it to even send to customers. So when I send that to customers, you'll see they've dynamically got an online form on your branding, and when they go ahead and fill it up, they can actually complete the form. It's done in a way that it makes it easy for them to fill in. There's no issues with handwriting, or I couldn't understand what that means. When they put in their ABN, everything gets pre-filled. The company name, the directors, you don't have to be, you have more confidence that the company that you're dealing with is the company that you're dealing with. The people that you're dealing with is the person that you're actually dealing with, right? And you can kind of see here, it's a representation of your brand, right? I can put in my AP contacts, for example. So who are the people that are going to be, paying the bills, and that's really important to capture. What is the address information? So I can pop in this is my random address. I can copy that address for my billing address, and so on and so forth. I won't go through the whole thing, but you can put in director details, trade references, upload documents, confirm. As soon as they've hit that form, right? What's happened is you've started your journey with the customer in a really professional way. This is a representation of your brand. You're saying, this is how we do business. It's professional. It's on point, right? But now, before you open up the account for them, you've got to assess the application. So what happens is, as soon as it's completed, you will have the application right here in your ezyCollect program, and you'll have all the details of what they've just filled in, right? Filled in beautifully with any driver's licenses, whatever you've asked for them to upload. And then where it gets really exciting is we start to now look at that data and dynamically give you scores, like give you risk scores and give you data to make better decisions. So before of just saying, hey, let me give them $10,000 of credit, let me first assess what's the risk of this customer to me. How are they paying other suppliers in the market? Are they a good customer? Are they a bad customer? And so what you can see here, it will give you information about who is the director, what is their segment, what's their address, as is registered in ASIC, right? And then from there, we give you a score. What is the risk of this customer paying late? What is the risk of ezyCollect failing in the next 12 months? And this is important for you to have, because this is giving you, the sense that, hey, there's less stress in my business. I can work with this customer knowing that there's a bit more accuracy or more certainty of getting paid, I should say, right? And then from there, you can go deeper, and if you feel the scores are a bit too high, you can grab a credit report, and you can go deeper in the report as well. And you can see, okay, who are the other directors of the business? Do they have any other court actions against them? If you are familiar with PPSR, you can look at their PPSR registrations as well. You can look at any cross-directorships. So is this director a director of some other companies? This is all the information that you have in a credit report. And these credit reports are all very accessible. Some of them are included for free in the plan. If you want a really comprehensive one, you pay a little bit extra. Just kind of, you pay for what you use if you need to use it. But what I'm trying to show you here is it's giving you access to data which you normally wouldn't have access to. Documents that might have been uploaded can be actually viewed here. The history of what's happened. You can do some reference checking as well here. You can put in, I spoke to Mr. Awesome Guy. He is the best. They've saved that, and that'll get saved. So you're having a central repository of everything that you need. And then finally, You can upload other files too that you feel are important, like if you have director guarantees and other things, and finalize the application. Give them a limit, approve it, put in the terms, and Bob's your uncle. This works, by the way, at the moment only in Australia. We're working on getting it working in New Zealand as well. But if you're interested, please let us know and we'll fast track that process for New Zealand. And we're also, I think it's almost ready, I'm not sure, it'll also create this customer into your ERP as well once you approve it through something called webhooks. But that's something which is a bit more detail. But what you can see here, forget all the other stuff, it's helping you having a better process, right, from like day one. So once you've got the customer on board, and this is the final point about this first moment of truth, is once you've got them on board, after 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you want to continually look at the risk of the customer. So we don't only onboard the customer, but we continue to monitor the customer for you from a risk point of view. So we'll categorize all your customers into these different risk groups for you, because businesses change over time. What's at the start changes after 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months. So what you'll see here, you can come in at any point and you can get a live view of how are my customers that I've already onboarded in terms of risk today. And customers who are, say, maybe prepare for like legal action, which is a bit scary here, you can go into this, view those customers, and then take action, such as sending emails, reminders, calls, letters, whatever you need. But this is just giving, I'll go into this in a minute, but this is giving you the example of onboarding and risk management is a continual process. So if I quickly flick back to the slides, JB, do you want to add anything there, just to summarize that first step?
Yes, AJ, it's just, if I can just reinforce that as I say, and this goes back to my experiences as well, it is so important to onboard customers correctly, because if you can flush out the ones that could be problems further down the line, you can still take them on as customers, but you might give them $1,000 credit limit. You might put them on 14-day terms. You might put them on prepay for the first 5 or 6 invoices. So you're sort of getting the customer on your terms, not on just automatically handing out 30-day $5,000 credit limits. And following on from that, and again, I've been involved in consulting in a lot of companies where the bad debts come as a complete surprise to them, because they go, but we've been dealing with this company for 5 years and all of a sudden they've gone broke and we had no idea because they were paying us on time. The problem is that they were paying you, but they perhaps weren't paying other people. So it's so important to not only onboard correctly, but also to keep looking at the debtors. And now with all the credit reporting and all the intelligence available, that is much more easily done these days than it used to be 5, 10 years ago. So it's so important. So step one, if you practice, basically you practice good hygiene from the get-go, and you've got a much better chance of keeping a clean debtors ledger.
Spot on.
Thanks, AJ.
Thank you. So let's move to step 2. And if you like step 1 and you love it, get in touch. We'll get you up and running. But it gets better, right? Step 2 is then once you have the right customers on board, how do you continue to manage the collections, right? The actual chasing in a really sort of professional way. Now, we realize that business to business is not a one-time transaction. It's about building a relationship. Jimmy mentioned that at the start. It's not just about sending email reminders or text messages. It's about having a continual relationship that respects your customer and humanizes the collection, because you want to work with the customer again. You want them to buy from you, right? So the way we've set up our collection system, once you've onboarded the right customers, is about respecting the relationship. And it starts when you first issue the invoice, right? So, you can, through this automated workflow that you see here, is you can set up, as soon as I issue the invoice in my ERP, I can send a copy of that invoice and an email saying, here's the invoice, here it is attached. Thank you very much for your business, and it'll automatically get sent. And that's a really nice thing to have, because it shows the professionalism of you as a business. So your customers got the invoice copies, and they can see all the other invoices perhaps that are currently owed by them as well. As soon as you issue an invoice, it triggers that step in the workflow. And then you can start to very gently remind the customer, and you can, of course, change the days between follow-ups, and you can change the wording and whatever you want. But say 2 or 3 days before it's due, hey, listen, thank you for your business. Your invoice is going to be due in the next couple of days. Just letting you know, right? And that's a really nice way to get paid on terms. If people don't pay by that day, and by the way, if someone does pay, the system will automatically stop chasing, and it can send a thank you message. These thank you messages are really powerful because it's, again, representing your brand. And you can tell these messages with all these merge fields. Merge fields are fields from your ERP, so you don't have to be typing things all the time. It's a one-time setup, set and forget, right? It'll pre-fill all the information for you. And the thank you message is really just acknowledging that you've been paid. And when someone does pay, it automatically reconciles into your ERP through the ezyCollect system. Now, if someone doesn't pay, it then triggers the workflow process. And your workflow process is, like I said, the very important thing is people are different, and you need to cater to different communication styles. So email works well at the starting point, but if you keep doing emails, there's a good chance it's going to have a bad result. I think I had a call with my sales manager yesterday, and he said to me, AJ, do you know the definition of insanity? And I said, what? And he said, it's doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. Right? I think GB was on the call with me too. And that's kind of what you could be doing with email reminders. If you keep saying just email, and hoping that they're going to pay you, I'm not saying you're insane, but don't be surprised if you don't get paid. So having different communication steps and methods for different parts of the process is important, and we help you do that really easily. So you can have email, SMS, fax. You can make physical phone calls, which actually schedules tasks for you, and mail is a physical letter via the post. So it'll actually post out that reminder. It does work, but obviously in today's day and age, people are using less and less of that. But these messages that get sent, if it's an email, it'll automatically attach the invoices. It can attach statements, and you can make the wording progressively harsher as you go. So maybe 3 days after it's due, send my first follow-up. Wait 5 days, send my second SMS. On my third follow-up, let me do something different. Let me schedule a call to the customer. This is where we talk about humanized collections, because you don't want to just keep harassing the customer. Maybe it's going to the junk. Maybe it's going to the wrong person. Maybe they're having an issue and they're waiting for that phone call. So when a call's due, the system will schedule a list of tasks every morning that are at that step. And when you come into work, guess what? You'll have a list of all the calls that you have to make for that day, right? And that's to me, it organizes my day. It's a beautiful thing when you know that I'm calling the people that need to be called. The people that don't need to be called are getting taken care of through automation. That's my stress feeling better. Stress is going. I know there's no loose ends. Everything's getting taken care of. And when I see my call list, I can see the customers I have to call, what stage they're at, how many days overdue, what's the balance owing to each of these customers. Because when we send our emails, right, we also understand that customers might have multiple invoices overdue. So you don't want to be sending an email per invoice. We send one kind of email, and it consolidates all their overdues. So that's a big thing about B2B as well, right? We want to know that you can't over-communicate either. It has to be the right amount of communication. So when a call's due, it's not a call for a particular invoice. It's a call for the overall balance for that customer. So I can see, for example, I have to call Jerde, Saur, and Bosch. They're actually a really high risk as well. So maybe I'll start with them. And that risk is, always, we use the data throughout the whole system. It's part of what we do. So I come in here, I can see, okay, I have to call this customer. Here's a credit limit. Here's a call task due, and here's what's already happened, and here's a history of what's happened. And I can see statements have been sent, emails have been sent, and I can see that it's been viewed as well. So you know what? I know they're opening it, but they're not actioning it. I can see the risk. I can see the invoices here. So at this point, I can actually make the phone call. And I can record my notes. I can say, let's say I'm calling GB here. So I spoke to the mighty GB, mighty GB, said he would pay big. Sorry, GB. These are my internal notes, okay? Your customers don't see this, so don't stress. But it's talking about, it's about giving you a record of what's happening with that customer. I save those notes. It'll save those notes into my activity history, and it'll even prompt me to send a confirmation email to GB about what we just discussed. And of course, I won't say the same thing. I'll say, hey, GB, thank you so much. And you can see I've pre-filled a template here. If I preview that template, it'll automatically send an email to GB of, an example of what I just wrote there, right? And what you also see here is that it now shows calls have been completed, and it'll move to the next step in due course. And the next step might be, a second call or a third call. It might be an escalation to a third-party lawyer if if it's already gone through my whole dunning process, because we integrate into lawyers.
AJ, if I could just
Please go ahead.
If I could interject there, the emailing confirmation of your conversation too is also very, very powerful. There's a lot of psychology behind that, because what you're doing is confirming in writing what you have agreed with this person. And people will get off the phone and think that, oh, well, it was just a phone call. But once you confirm back to them, it's a very powerful prompt that they have agreed to something. So, sorry, AJ, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's a very powerful part of the collection process and of course we make it easy for you as well, because you're talking to them, you're writing notes, you push a button, and hi Bob, thanks for your time today. Great to know that you're going to pay me $15,600 by the 31st of March. Good to do business with you. And all of a sudden, then it becomes almost a contract. So
yeah, it's a good point.
Thanks,
definitely interrupt me. It's good. It's a very valid point. And so when this customer's paused, I don't want to, like they promised to pay me, say, in 5 days' time. I don't want to keep chasing them, right? So when we talk about humanized automation, you got to respect those discussions as well. So I could go in here now, and I could say, as an action that I want to take, is I want to pause chasing the customer for the next 5 days, right? Because that's kind of what we've agreed. And I can say they put a promise to pay, For GB, I'm looking forward to that check in the mail, right? And that's done. So that promise to pay is in place, and this customer is now paused. They're not going to be chased for the next 5 days. After day 6, it'll check, have they been paid? And if they haven't, guess what? It's going to automatically unpause, alert you that they haven't paid you, and it's going to start the next step in the communication process automatically. So you're not letting any loose ends fall through the gaps. Okay. Really, really important, I think, around that element of stress that we all get when we're chasing late payment. Now, I'm going to come back into the last point that's all tied to this whole process, called frictionless payments, in just a second. But what I'm showing you here is just a high-level example of the automation with the human element. There's a lot more you can do around slicing and dicing your customer database based on different filters. Like you can see, people are only more than 35 days overdue with this risk level. Send them a bulk email, in 10 seconds with this wording. You can do a lot more around reaching out to customers through your collection automation. And we can take you through that if you want to use the actual product. But really what we're talking about here is collections that are humanized, that are not just automated, that use data, that respect the process of the discussions that you've had, will improve your sales, because you'll sell more because your customers want to work with you, and you'll improve your cash collections dramatically. So that's step 2. GB, any final thoughts on step 2 before I move to step 3?
No, all good. Thanks, AJ.
Fantastic. So again, if you have any questions as we go through, please use the Q&A chat box on the bottom of the screen there, and you can ask questions as we go through. The last step, which is around helping your customers pay you, is a super important process, because if you don't help them pay you, you're going to, you create friction in the process. Guess what? You'll go to the bottom of that payment queue. They'll pay the people that it's easier to pay. And what we found is the best way to get paid faster is to have a way for customers to pay you on their terms. Let them pay you when they want to pay you. And what we can do for you in ezyCollect is enable a Pay Now button on your MYB invoices, on your advanced EXO invoices, on your reminders, on your website, wherever you want. Put a Pay Now button. Make it super easy for your customers to pay you. And what you can see, for example, here is an example of an email that gets sent to a customer as one of the follow-up reminders. And it's a good screen because you can see it actually shows how we've combined invoices together in a single communication, because that helps with less is more, like less communication is better. Because a real person wouldn't send 7 emails. They'd send 1 email and they'd consolidate the whole thing together. Same story here. But the Pay Now button at the bottom here is something your customer can click at any point in the time, and they can actually check out and pay you through a branded customer portal. So this is your customer portal. Everyone who uses ezyCollect gets their own customer portal for their customers to log in, or not even log in, just to see all their invoices. So what you can see here is Stark Industries is my business, and Walters Rolfson is my customer. And they can come here at 8 o'clock at night, they put the kids to bed, and they can pay their invoices. They have a live view of all their invoices that are in XO or advanced right now. They can see the line items. They can actually query stuff as well. And that's really important because you want to reduce the friction. They might not be paying an invoice because they were overcharged for one product, so they're delaying the whole invoice. Right? So that query process is really key during the entire payment and checkout process. I can see some invoices are very overdue, some are underdue, and some are not due, which is probably in the next page. So I can go ahead and I can pay the $44,000 with a single click of a Pay Now button, put in my credit card details, put in my email to get an automatic receipt as well. And if you don't like to pay surcharge fees as a company, you don't like accepting credit card because it's too expensive, good luck. You can automatically surcharge all credit card fees to your customer. Let them pay that. If that's their choice to pay you by credit card, you don't have to pay that. Right? And that's a really important point because a lot of businesses don't accept credit card or Amex because they say it's too expensive. My thing to do is accept it, make it easy to get paid, reduce the friction, pass on the fees if that's the issue, right? Because
actually on that point, AJ, Amex is a big one that a lot of people, believe it or not, don't take. But a lot of people who use Amex do it to get points. Yeah. So just surcharge the Amex card and accept it, and people will pay the surcharge on Amex. And even now, Amex, again, going back to my experience, it used to be a nightmare because you'd have to send all the receipts up to Amex and then you get paid 7 or 8 days later. Now Amex, because they're having to compete harder with MasterCard and Visa, they're almost acting more like a bank. So you get reimbursed the following day, just like you do with banks. So don't just dismiss Amex because a lot of big customers like using it to accrue points, and just allow Simply Paid to surcharge Amex, and boom, you've given them a way to pay that they like, and they're happy to pay the fees.
And you just, thanks, GB, you mentioned Simply Paid. Just you want to explain what that is, because as a product.
Oh, sorry, AJ. Simply Paid is a payment portal that allows customers to be able to pay you at any time of the day or night. What AJ is showing you is the workflow, but it goes through to Simply Paid. And payments can be a standalone entryway if you just need a requirement for people to be able to pay you whenever they like. Our data is now showing that up to it's about 25.2% of people pay outside of 9 to 5. So people are transacting at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, midnight, 2 in the morning, 6 or 7 in the morning, because a lot of people, that's when they pay their bills. And again, we get back to AJ's point about frictionless payments. Let's make it easy for people to pay you. If people want to pay you at 5 in the morning, then let them.
Yeah. So, and look, if you're a fan of Afterpay or ZipMoney, or if you're not a fan even, I think there's this culture change of people are liking to pay by installments. So what we've done here is we've added an option here of what we call settle now, pay later, because it's not really buy now. They've already bought the goods, but it's about settling the payment to you today, but paying over 5 installments. So what we've done here is we've enabled a option. It's really a finance option where your customer can click, say, I'll pay over 5 installments over 60 days. What they're doing effectively is paying a finance company back over 5 installments, but you get the money, the full amount that they're paying straight away, right? So you as a supplier still get your money up front, which is what you want, and the finance company takes the risk of your customer over 5 installments. It's not your risk. If they default, it's not your problem, because we in-app approve the customer or reject the customer whether they're eligible for that finance offer right here in the payment screen. So that's, again, using data to make better decisions around risk. So I guess what I wanted to show you with the payments, and this is one way to use payments. You can use it in statements on your, actual invoices. It's really about reducing the friction of letting your customers pay you. It means that, as JB mentioned, you're getting paid while you're sleeping, and it'll take away your stress because money's coming in the bank for work that you deserve to get paid for. And so we wanted to keep the webinar, under 30 minutes because we know that's people's it's during lunch and people's time is really important. Just a couple more slides to talk you through. Maybe JB, I'll hand back to you to talk through the next two slides.
Thanks, AJ. Just quickly, as I say, we have over 1,200 customers in over 20 countries. Look, here's a logo board. We'd like to add your logo onto this board as well. It's just important to know that it really does improve all aspects of your accounts receivable business, and we have very a whole department dedicated to customer service to keep our customers happy. AJ, can you just flick to the final slide? Just before we go into the Q&A, look, I'd like to thank you for attending, but sort of as a thank you for that, for Kilimanjaro and Enterprise customers for Advanced or EXO, today, if you just let Isabella or Andrew or your account manager know, or email us at sales@ezycollect.com.au and mention that you're on this webinar, we'll give you 50% off the first 3 months subscription and the fixed installation of $9.95. So basically that potentially could save you, $2,000 or $3,000 over the course of your subscription. Now, because I'm the channel manager, we can also look at, if you do let us know, AJ doesn't know I'm just about to do this, but I'm to get you looking at credit applications as well. We'll also give you up to 3 credit scores free, so you can trial that as well. So I'm not looking at AJ as I'm announcing this, so he'll obviously talk to me about it afterwards, but I can do that for you as well. So please email us at sales@ezycollect.com, talk to your account manager at KC or Enterprise, and they'll get back to us. So thank you for joining. Now, I do have 2 or 3 quick questions that have come through, so if we could just field them and then we can wrap up. I can answer these, but AJ and I will do it together. How long does it take to set up ezyCollect is one of the questions, AJ.
Yes, look, if you're using something like MYB Advanced, it's really simple through, or EXO, it's through the API. You simply send an email to sales@ezycollect.com.au. We will give you a price so you know what you're going to pay for your product, and then we can get it installed pretty much the same day or the next day. And then once the data is synced, you'll be up and running. You'll get a bit of training from our customer success team, so make sure that you guys are communicating the right way to your customers. The training can take a little bit longer, depending on the quality of the data that you have in your ERP. But if it's perfect, same day. If it's not perfect, give it 4 or 5 days to get everything set up correctly, and then off you go. You can enjoy the benefits of ezyCollect.
I'll take the next question, which is an interesting one. Do payments write back to EXO and Advanced? Now, again, from experience, the worst thing in the world you want is to double handle data. And the beauty of ezyCollect is once a payment is made through the payment portal, it automatically writes back to that relevant invoice into EXO and Advanced. So there's no miscoding, there's no you had a temp in for the week and then they just coded all the invoices to all the payments to the oldest invoice because they didn't know how the matching process was supposed to work. With ezyCollect, that doesn't happen. Even part payments. So somebody pays $1,000 off a $9,000 invoice, that $1,000 gets allocated to that $9,000 invoice in EXO or in Advance, so they then owe $8,000 on that invoice. So and that to me is an absolute dream coming from an accounting background, that you can actually match the payment directly to the invoice it's paid, and you don't have to spend hours at the end of every month. And we all know the worst thing is a customer, you're chasing an invoice and they call you and they go, but I've paid that invoice. And you go, when did you pay that invoice? And they say, but I paid that 2 months ago, and why are you chasing me for this? And it's been allocated wrong in your debtor's ledger, and so you have to then reconcile the whole thing. So ezyCollect Payments takes away all that pain. And finally, AJ, you might handle this. What about support? How do you guys support this product, and how does it get supported?
Yeah. So look, you know, so support's really, really key. You guys don't want to have a product that you don't feel like you have support on. And we're an Aussie company. You know, we have presence all through Australia. We support 18 countries. You can support. You get support. You get training, and you get as much support as you need. We don't charge you for every call you make to us for any training that you need. We're there to help you when you need help. Email, phone calls, SMS, and in-app. You can chat with us in-app as well. So it's really there to help you use the system the right way. We really pride ourselves on giving you the right level of usage, because if we don't help you use the system properly, you're not going to use it, and you're going to turn off the system. So we want you to get the maximum usage, which means we have to support you. So it's a really important thing for us to make sure that you guys have as much as you need to know that you the best way possible.
Thanks, AJ. And thank you all for attending today. We had a great turnout, so that's always encouraging to us that we're reaching out and we can help so many people. Please get in touch with your account manager or myself or sales at ezyCollect directly, and we can go from there. So again, thank you for your time. Enjoy your lunch if this is your lunchtime, and we really appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.